Whether you're watching this on YouTube or TikTok, try to subscribe. Help me build this community so we can get things done as a unit. We can do our lives when the community gets bigger and everybody can have a voice. If I'm wrong about something, check me on it. I try to stick to the facts, but I can be wrong. I'm human. But if I'm not, then the conversation is over as far as who's wrong. Because it's not about being right. It's about the truth and the facts. Now let's get into this next video. In my last video, I spoke on why delineation is important. And we're going to get into some more videos that's going to show you why delineation is important. And we're going to speak on how we got to this point. Check it out.
Hey guys, my name is Modi and you are welcome to Modi Speaks. So when I talk about the religion of problem, okay, I'm talking about it because it is indeed the religion of problem. Anything it touches turns to decay.
Before we go any further, I would like to say I do not have a problem with the Muslim religion. You have different sects of Muslims. You have Sunnis, Shiites, the Nation of Islam. Philadelphia, for a fact, is full of Sunnis. Most of those brothers you see with the long beards are Sunnis. One thing that I like about the Muslim religion is that their women are very modest when it comes to the way they dress. Even in the Christian Bible, it says that women are to be modest. But when you hear a lot of women today talk that don't dress modestly, one of the first things that they say they're looking for is a God-fearing man because it sounds good. That's not what they want. If they did, when that God-fearing man speaks to them about the way they dress, it shouldn't be a problem. They say it because it sounds good, not because that's what they follow. When it comes to women in particular, I do this with people, but definitely women. I don't pay attention to what they say. I watch what they do.
Any country it radically possesses depreciates immediately, and any human who follows its ways becomes dangerous both to themselves, to their loved ones, and to their society at large. Now, I want to shine a light on what is happening in Somalia today. I know Ilhan Omar and Mohamed Fateh don't want to talk about this. They don't want you to know about this evil going on in their native country. They don't. But I am here to expose the evil. Now, this evil is not just happening in the 99.9% Muslim populated Somalia. It is happening all over Africa, the Middle East, and other parts of the world where the religion of cancer has deeply taken root. This evil I'm going to be exposing in this video is even happening in the northern part of my country, Nigeria. The northern part, which has a Muslim majority, is deeply ridden with this particular evil. Now, what am I talking about? Well, recently, the Somalian government passed a bill to prohibit the marriage of children under the age of 18 after years and years of pressure from the United Nations and other Western countries, okay? The Somalian government finally caved in and decided to introduce a bill that would criminalize the marriage of children and also give Somalian citizens the right to freedom of religion. But something happened. Something happened. Barely 24 hours after the introduction of this bill, the Somalian people lost their minds, okay? They could not comprehend the idea of criminalizing 80-year-old men from marrying 9-year-old children. It was a taboo for the government to say that grandpas should not have any intercourse with minors who are not even old enough to be their great-granddaughters. So they took to the streets in protest, demanding that the bill should be rejected and overthrown. And to my greatest lack of surprise, it was overthrown. So this bill that would have brought about the emancipation of the Somalian girl child in Somalia was decisively crushed by the Somalian people. Because of course, Somalia is 99.9% Muslim and they are ruled by Sharia law. And their Sharia law says that it is their men's right to have intercourse with children once they are mature. Mature children. What an oxymoron. Anyway, let's hear from the Somalians themselves.
shalay Soomaaliya waxay u ahayd maalin mugdiya, maalin madow ah. Shalay baarlamaankii wuxuu u soo saaray ama uu go'aan ku gaaray wax la aqbali kara ma aha. Annaga muslim baan nahay, boqolkiiba boqol muslim baan nahay. Soomaali Ilaahay ha laga cabsado. Arrintan arrinka hortag u baahan waaye. Aabay culimmadeena Soomaaliyeed, aabay culimmadeena Soomaaliyeed. Waarisal ambiyaa baa tihiin, idinkaan hadal maqalnaa. Maxaa dhacay, maxaa loogu aamusan yahay arrintan? Aaway Sheekh Sumow, aaway ma noola miyaa? Aaway Sheekh Shaakir ma noola miyaa? War aaway culimmadeena ilaahay aan ka cabsano. War ilaahay aan ka cabsano, ilaahay aan u laabano. Sheekh Maxamed Macalin Abshir aaway, Sheekh Nuur Cali Jimcaale aaway. War ilaahay aan ka cabsano, Sheekh Cabdirasaaq Ashari aaway. War ilaahay aan ka cabsano. War ilaahay aan ka cabsano. Arrintan arrin la aqbali kara maaha. Dadkan waana rogayaan, ilaahay aan ka cabsano. War ilaahay aan ka cabsano, ilaahay aan ka cabsano. Arrimahan laga hortago. Arrima la aqbali kara maaha. 18 sano gaalay u qoran tahay, carruurtooda ku qaangaaraan, annaga inaan ku raacno ma aha. Nabiga sallallahu alayhi wasallam khaalifal mushrikiin buu na faray. Inaan mushrikiinta khilaafnaana la faray. Ilaahay aan ka cabsano. War ilaahay aan ka cabsano. War ilaahay aan ka cabsano.
Do you see how two people can use the same word and mean something totally different? With tears in his eyes, the man spoke on integrity. And he's upset because he cannot have sex with little girls. This angers me to a point that I cannot explain. This is why it is important to delineate. This is why it is supposed to happen. The movement that I'm speaking on is supposed to happen. What is that movement? Getting naturalized citizenship revoked. That's called denaturalization. When you find out that people are here breaking laws, doing shit like this, it is part of their culture to sleep with little girls. I want women who have daughters who live around these people. Pay attention to how men from these places look at your children. They look at children like most men look at attractive grown women. There's a lustful eye that looks at them. I have a past where I was in prison. I know women that have been touched. From when I was young, I would speak to different girls, females that I dealt with, and it honestly seemed like a high percentage of them had issues like this. So it made me grow to detest these people. So when I went to prison, I made it my business to make their bid hard. I won't say some of the things that I've done to them, but understand, I don't live that life anymore. But even criminals agree on something, from the murderers to the drug dealers to the scammers. They agree that men who are word children and women need to be punished physically. You have men in there that are away from their daughters and children that miss them. And when someone comes in there and that's what they've done, oh, you gotta pay for it. But this is a whole different type of party. You see these Pan-Africanists? This is the type of stuff that they don't want to talk about. No, we will not allow these men to be comfortable here in this country, knowing they have this type of culture, knowing that they get emotional because they were contested and they actually beat it. It was overruled. So now they still continue to be able to do this in their country. An old, wrinkled man is allowed to marry a 9-year-old girl. These men should be castrated. For you to be that emotional because you can't have sex with a child, it shows how sick these people are in the head. And he had the nerve to talk about integrity. So if you turn your back for a moment, say you live in a building with these people, and you send your child downstairs to play, or you send your child downstairs for anything, guess who will snatch them up if you're not watching them? This is why fathers need to be around. This is why fathers are needed. Because one of them sickos touched the little girl that I'm raising. It's sad, but I'm going to prison. I'm not waiting for the police. I'm not waiting for a court case. I'm going to punish that man.
This old man is literally crying because men as old as him, and even those older than him, are told by this Somalian bill that they can no longer abuse little female children. They are setting up cameras and weeping, calling on fellow Islamic scholars and sheikhs to demand that this bill be turned down. He directly cited the Quran, explaining that it is an Islamic law to marry female children once they mature. And for them, that maturity can be as early as 8 or 9 years old, even 6 years old in cases of that of their Prophet Muhammad. When we say that Islam is cancer, and when China says that it is a mental illness, none of us are lying. The fact that this man is shamelessly showing his disgusting face on camera, crying because Somalia wanted to introduce a law that will protect their female children, is the most despicable thing I have ever witnessed in my life. My goodness. Here is another Islamic old man crying about the same thing.
sharcigan la leeyahay baarlamaanka federaalka ayaa ansixiyey oo carruurtu waxay ku qaangaaraysaa 18 ama 18 sidaa u taqaano. waxaa waaye annaga haddaan nahay muslimiin, muslimaad, mu'miniin, mu'minaad nama khuseeyo. waxaa dhacay annagu waxaan aaminsannahay shareecada islaamka oo warkii allah ah iyo warkii nabiga calayhi salaatu wasalaam. taas ayaan aaminsannahay. sharcigaanuna oo ah inay ciyaalku ku qaangaarayaan 18 sano, shareecada islaamka waa baalmarsan yahay, wuu khilaafsan yahay, waa ka soo horjeedaa. saa darteed annaga nama khuseeyo, muslimiin, muslimaad, mu'miniin, mu'minaad haddaan nahay nama khuseeyo. cod dheer ayaana ku sheegayaa inuusan na khuseyn. maxaa dhacay? shareecada islaamka ayuu ka soo horjeedaa. maxaa dhacay? shareecada islaamku waxay leedahay, waxaa waaye waxaa lagu qaangaarayaa calaamado la yidhaahdo calaamadaha qaangaarka. gabadhu haddii dhiig isku aragto iyadoo 9 sano, 10 sano, 11 sano jirto, hadday dhiig caadi isku aragto way qaangaartay. sidoo kale wiilka haddii uu riyoodo oo isku arka asigana waxaa waaye biyo uu isku arka asigana wuu qaangaaray.
I wish a lot of people will share this video because a lot of individuals are still living in the dark. They don't know what is going on in the Islamic world, okay? All these Somalians crying about the new bill that was about to be introduced in Somalia are only citing their religion. Their religion. their Islamic religion as the basis of their complaint. They are not saying that this is against their culture, even though it would be a disgusting culture, okay? Rather, they are saying that this is against the teachings of their Islamic religion. It is against Islam. We must fear Allah. We must always do what Allah says, okay? We must fear Allah. We must fear Allah. Sharia law supersedes the law of the government, okay? We must only listen to what Allah says. Therefore, since Allah has said that grown men can have intercourse with female children, then we must be allowed. We grown men, we grandfathers should be allowed to abuse these female children because that is what Allah commands. Just listen to their argument. Now, this is another Somalian talking about this issue. He's living abroad, according to him. He said he has lived in the UK for 10 years and he has lived in America for 10 years. And also, I just want to listen to what he has to say. Currently now, he's living in the West. I don't know which country he's living in, but I just want to listen to what he has to say because in this video he made, he captioned it, "The end is here." The end is here. So I just want to know about the end he's talking about. Let's listen to him.
Breaking news. This is huge. Somalia has gone left. Somalia has gone liberal. This is bad. This is really, really bad. Let me explain. With these new laws, Somalia will no longer be 99.9% Muslim. The government is pushing a new law of freedom of religion, meaning in the future you may see Somali Christians, Somali agnostics, Somali Jews, and even worse, Somali atheists. And they will also not be allowing marriages under the age of 18. So out with Islam and in with Western-made laws.
So this guy is against his country, Somalia, introducing a new law that gives Somalians the freedom to choose their religion. Mind you, this new law was immediately scrapped barely 24 hours after it was introduced. Now this guy says this means destruction for Somalia and it means the end of Somalia. This is the same guy who is freely practicing his Islamic religion in the West. He doesn't live in Somalia. He freely worships in a mosque in a Western country he resides in. Now, he is happy that this Western country gave him the courtesy of, worshipping a religion he chose. He is happy that this Western country, has a law that gives people the freedom to choose their religion, okay? But he thinks that Somalia extending this type of law to her citizens would be the end of Somalia. How interesting. I hope the West is taking note, by the way. You are now seeing how these Muslims are using your own laws against you.
If this is not a reason for denaturalization, I don't know what is. If anybody has a culture like this, they shouldn't be allowed over here. These are Shiite Muslims. Their culture is disgusting. Is this what Pan-Africanism? Are these your brothers? You see, there are so many reasons why Pan-Africanism absolutely, positively, unequivocally does not work. Mind you, in Minnesota, they are saying that at least half of the Somalians that are there are not even there legally. There are 80,000 of them. So 40,000 of them are there illegally. Over 80% of them are on welfare. They just stole billions of dollars. Mind you, Ilhan Omar was worth about $65,000. And in 4 years, I believe, she's worth $30 million. How? How? Anybody that is a foundational Black American should be more than upset with this. These Democrats have endangered your children. They have endangered you. They have endangered your lives by giving these immigrants licenses to drive CDLs. Some of them have not even been trained properly. They have shown you situations where they paid for these licenses. I drive trucks, and let me tell you, if you don't get any real training, you're going to kill somebody, which is happening on a consistent basis. Your politicians are the ones who put you in this position. They have displaced us for far too long. And these are the things that these Pan-Africans do not talk about. They have stolen billions from our country, from the taxpayers, and they have sent this money overseas, which is another proven fact. We need to start this petition to denaturalize these people and to stop birthright citizenship, because it's all going down under the 14th Amendment. We know the 14th Amendment was for us, not this. So that would say that they are here illegally. Even the ones who are quote unquote citizens, they get so brave and say, oh, I'm a citizen. Now you have the Somalians claiming that they were promised Minnesota 3,000 years ago. How were you promised Minnesota 3,000 years ago when Minnesota wasn't Minnesota 3,000 years ago? You people just got here, maybe 30 years ago. These people are pirates, they are criminals, they are scammers, and they are perverts. This is not an insult. This is the truth. When you're telling the truth, it cannot be an insult.
The focus on Minnesota continues. Minnesota now a target in the Trump administration's efforts to crack down on foreign truck drivers with illegal U.S. commercial driver's licenses. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy also calling out CDL trading providers. Fox 9's Karen Scullin has more on what all of this means tonight. So Karen, what does the administration mean if we take a step back really quickly? What do they mean when they say illegal U.S. commercial driver's licenses?
Well, right, it can actually mean a number of things, but in a letter to Governor Walz and Public Safety Commissioner Bob Jacobson, a few examples are given of immigrants from Somalia, El Salvador, Ukraine, and other countries where these drivers were issued Minnesota CDLs that are valid for years after their documents that give them the right to work in this country actually expire. We're talking by a few months to even 4 years in some cases. So if they were issued a CDL in, say, 2025, it might be good until 2029, but actually their work papers expire in 2026. And there are many examples given of this. Secretary Duffy saying 1/3 of these CDLs issued to foreigners are actually issued illegally.
So what are the demands now being issued by the U.S. Department of Transportation?
Right. Basically, Minnesota is being given 30 days to comply, meaning revoke the illegal licenses and comply with everything, or federal highway funding to the tune of $30 million will be revoked. Obviously, a lot of money here at stake.
Yeah, $30 million at stake. So the federal government is cracking down on CDLs they say were issued illegally in Minnesota. And honestly, should anyone be surprised? We're talking about the same state under Governor Tampon Timmy proudly promoting driver's license for all. Translation, anybody can walk in and get a license, including illegal immigrants. So of course, it's not shocking that CDL licenses were getting handed out too. This is what happens when you run a state like a free-for-all. It's reckless, extremely reckless. And now Sean Duffy over transportation is basically telling Minnesota clean it up or kiss $30 million in federal funds goodbye.
Minnesota is a target in the Trump administration's efforts to crack down on foreign truck drivers as well, with illegal U.S. commercial driver's licenses.
And I have to say, it's interesting how they love presenting these stories in opposition to actual Americans. No one ever stops to ask them, why do we need foreign truck drivers in the United States in the first place? We already have more than enough American CDL holders, plenty of U.S. citizens who can and want to work. So why are we bringing in people from outside the country to do a job Americans are fully qualified for? Why would we need foreigners to drive our trucks?
U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is also calling out Minnesota CDL training providers. Fox 9's Karen Scullin has more on what all of this means tonight.
Across the country, foreign drivers of big rigs have been getting a hard look by the Trump administration, who says some of them are dangerous. And now the effort to crack down on illegally issued CDLs has made its way to Minnesota.
Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota gave 33% of these licenses unlawfully. People that should never have a driver's license driving a big rig on American roads, endangering the American people, shameful.
33%. Let that sink in. 1 out of every 3 CDLs in Minnesota issued illegally. 33%.
In a letter sent to Governor Walz and Minnesota Public Safety Commissioner Bob Jacobson by the U.S. Department of Transportation, Secretary Sean Duffy says 1/3 of the CDLs issued by Minnesota to foreigners were issued illegally. A few examples given include in November 2024, DVS issued a citizen of El Salvador a CDL that would expire in 2027, but the driver's right to work in the U.S. expired in March of 2025. In December 2024, a similar situation is cited. A citizen of Somalia issued a CDL that was valid through 2028, even though the driver's right to work in this country expired in June of 2025. In March of 2025, DVS issued a CDL with a 2029 expiration date. The Ukrainian citizen's right to work in the U.S. expired in April of 2025. Minnesota now has 30 days to come into compliance and revoke the illegally issued CDLs or risk losing $30 million in federal highway funding. The Minnesota Department of Vehicle Services issued a statement, though, today, and it says, earlier this year, we audited our processes and identified and corrected some administrative errors with issuing the CDLs, including notifying customers who were ineligible that their CDL privileges were canceled. DVS has immediately paused issuing CDLs to foreign nationals, and we have already begun an additional internal review and will submit an action plan. But that's not all. The U.S. Department of Transportation is also targeting some of Minnesota's CDL training centers.
There have been states that have issued commercial driver's license to foreigners, and they've gone through sham schools, and they're not safe on American roadways.
Claims are that these Minnesota CDL training providers are falsifying or manipulating training data, not meeting required curriculum standards or instructor qualifications, or failing to maintain accurate documentation. Fox 9 reached out to several listed training facilities. Either they did not respond to our inquiries or were unfamiliar with the issue.
Oh, they're about to be real familiar now. These scam CDL schools, they're about to get shut down. And not just in Minnesota either.
Among the people eligible for a commercial driver's license to become a truck driver are foreign drivers who are in the country legally on temporary status, like a work visa or exchange program. But a recent audit by the U.S. Department of Transportation found that Minnesota has violated federal rules in 1 out of every 3 of those licenses it's issued.
The Minnesota Trucking Association believes that the audit was appropriate, and we think if there are things that are identified that need to be corrected, they need to be corrected.
John Hausladen, president of the Minnesota Trucking Association, says they depend on state-issued CDLs to be accurate and legal. But according to a letter delivered to the Minnesota Public Safety Commissioner, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration found instances of foreign drivers issued CDLs in Minnesota without verifying the driver's lawful presence in the U.S. In addition, the audit found CDLs that expire years after the foreign driver's work permit expires.
I believe the state's going to correct it. We work with those agencies. We're certainly going to do our part to make sure that they do it right, because it's a partnership that has to work.
The Trump administration has focused on audits such as these after a deadly crash in Florida in August caused by a truck driver in the country illegally who was issued a CDL by California. After that, California revoked 17,000 CDLs for foreign drivers.
And that was by force because Gavin Newsom was being super defiant, didn't want to take back any of those licenses. He gave out at least 65,000 of them. And he didn't care about those black citizens that were killed on the highway after another Indian illegal driver ran into them in California. No, he didn't give not one condolence to their families.
Now, mind you, Tim Walz would have been vice president had these feminists that wanted to elect Kamala Harris president actually been voted in. This is why feminists, black feminists, can no longer speak up for the community. Their leadership is trash, and they will lead you into a burning house. Imagine if Kamala Harris would have been elected. I'm no Trump supporter, but I agree with everything he's doing in this area because he's cleaning up an industry that I'm in. Listen to what they said. There have been dozens of accidents with immigrants killing American citizens. And if she would have become president, they would have just let in more. They found out in Minnesota, these people stole $1 billion under Tim Walz's watch. So if the man was in control or second in command of America, how much more do you think would have got stolen? Ilhan Omar needs to go to prison. Waltz needs to go to prison, even though we know this isn't going to happen. But what we can do is get Miss Omar deported. The woman is a criminal and a thief. I'm going to end this here. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. And in the next one, we're going to talk about this feminist leadership from these women. And understand, I know all black women are not like that. I married a good one, and I know there's a bunch more out there. Like I said in prior videos, it's up to men to choose the right women. The same way they say single mothers should have chose a better dude, you men need to choose better women. Stop trying to wife up the strippers and the barmaids and the bottle girls. Wife up the good ones, and you won't have these issues that you run into where you find out she's running around, thotting around, because that's her nature. But I'm gonna leave you guys. I hope you enjoy the video. Peace.